Hi everyone. Thank you very much. I always appreciate you. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to another classic movie review. I am talking about one of the most celebrated films of the 1970s from director William Friedkin, the director of To Live and Die in LA, The Exorcist, Sorcerer, Cruisin'. I am talking about The French Connection. This movie won the Academy Award for Best Picture, and it also won the Oscar for Best Actor for its star, Gene Hackman, in the role of Jimmy Popeye Doyle, a narcotics detective in New York City on the trail of some drug smugglers smuggling heroin from France to New York City. The main character that we follow in this story, narcotics detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle, played brilliantly by actor Gene Hackman in the role, is not your generic typical cop that you see in a lot of Hollywood films. In a lot of movies, usually where there's a cop front and center as the main character, they usually try to make that character as likable and relatable and as heroic as possible. Not the case with this character. This character is kind of a sleazeball. He is very much kind of a racist. He is into prostitutes, and he's got a little bit of a gray area in terms of the way he operates, as a lot of cops do. And that makes this movie all the more interesting. Actor Roy Scheider, who famously played Sheriff Brody in Jaws and Jaws 2 and was also in Sorcerer from William Friedkin, Marathon Man, and all that jazz, many other films, is also in this film as Buddy, the partner to the Popeye Doyle character in the film. And of the two cops, you get a sense that he isn't a racist like his partner, and he's also the more level headed one. I'd just like to add for the action movie fans out there that plan on checking this out, though it is a cop movie, I wouldn't call it an action movie per se. There are moments in the film that have action in them, not action for action's sake. It's more like developments in the story that happen through the action, and you got an on foot chase, you got some shootouts, you do have a pretty standout sequence in a car chase in the film, but other than that, it's mostly about the investigation and all the procedural stuff. When I was a lot younger growing up, I did hear a lot about this movie. I heard a lot about the car chase in this movie growing up and about how infamous it was and about how it was one of the greatest, maybe the greatest car chase in film history. And after watching a lot of movies, no, I'm sorry. It is not the greatest car chase of all time. It is a very enjoyable sequence in the film, but as far as being one of the greatest car chases ever, no, not even close. I'm sorry. Maybe at the time, maybe for 1971, but yeah, if you want to even think about what came out in, 68, which was before this, I'd say Bullet has a better car chase than the one in this film. On paper, the plot of this movie sounds very weak and very generic. It sounds like it could be out of 100 action movies from the 80s and 90s in terms of a cop being on the trail of some drug smugglers. He gets a tip off from some informant about this big shipment going down. We've seen that 100 times after this movie came out. But back in 1971, it must have been very kind of exciting and very kind of raw and gritty, especially in the terms of the filmmaking, because the filmmaking in this movie is damn near flawless. The overall setting of the film, the dirty, filthy, grimy New York streets, also the performances from Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider being very believable and convincing, the screenplay, the on point and spot on filmmaking, which is masterful from director William Friedkin, all make this a very immersive and exciting experience. However, as much as I enjoy this film, and as much as many people, many critics, and people that grew up with this movie consider this one a great film, I am not one of those people. I like the film, I enjoy it. To me, it's a good movie. I don't really care for the ending in this film. I think the ending is a bit anticlimactic, which is the case with a lot of 70s movies, and a lot of times anticlimactic endings do tend to work, especially from movies of the 70s. In this case, however, did not care for the ending whatsoever, and it really brings the movie down a little bit for me. I do think this is a very entertaining and well made film. It's very well crafted. As a movie fan and as a fan of movies overall from the 1970s, I gotta say, I've always thought this movie was a bit overrated. And though I do have a lot of respect for this movie, I think the main reason why this movie has endured for so long isn't so much because of the overall movie, but because of that legendary performance from the great Gene Hackman in the role of Jimmy Popeye Doyle. The French Connection from 1971. Many consider it one of the greatest movies of all time, one of the great films of the 1970s, a landmark film. For me, it's just a very good film, and I give the movie 3 stars. I do enjoy it, and I do think it is worth the watch and worth checking out. This is a movie that can definitely be found on streaming because it's still a pretty popular classic. Those of you out there that know me know I'm a physical media kind of guy, so you know I'm going to have my copy on hand. Here's my DVD of the film. As you can see there, Jimmy Popeye Doyle, played by the great Gene Hackman, sporting a little handgun pointed off frame and wearing that little hat that he wears all throughout the film to cover up that comb over of his. And he does have this kind of a thing about people picking their feet in Poughkeepsie, so If you're one of those guys that picks their feet in Poughkeepsie, he's going to get you. He doesn't like that. So watch out for that stuff. 1971's The French Connection. Check it out. Highly encourage you to watch this classic. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I always appreciate it. If you're into this kind of thing, if you're into the classics, if you're new to the channel, hit the bell, become a subscriber. Please don't forget to comment, share, like, always helps out. And if you're a supporting viewer, thank you very much for supporting the channel and watching. I always appreciate it. Everybody take care of each other. Peace out. God bless. Till next time.